Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 23rd of December. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. So friends, into the today's video, we will be taking up the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper and the PDF that we'll be using here. You can download the PDF from the Telegram channel. The link for Telegram has been given in the description box. Now, let's start with our discussion. And before that, let's see the overview of the important and relevant articles. So guys, first of all, this is the page number 1 and the first article here that we can see is that heated winter session concludes a day early. So basically this particular article guys, it is talking about the conclusion of the winter session. Then the IT department searches premises on Chinese mobile firms. Fine, nothing very much important into this particular direction. Okay, then guys, after that UNSC adopts a resolution to ease Afghan assistance. So basically here we can see that the United Nations Security Council had provided a resolution that basically we need to carve out into the sanctions that have been imposed into this, but onto the Afghanistan, onto the humanitarian grounds, such kind of thing are being done. Then further moving on, India gives 1 million doses to the Myanmar. So as a part of the vaccine metri, such kind of things are being done. Then further moving on into this particular direction, then guys, here we can see that the High Court has issued that into the streamlining of the juvenile delinquency, juvenile delivery, some of the urgent steps should be taken. We'll see that what has happened into this particular respect. Then further moving on guys into this particular line, after that as we move on, the regional section, nothing much very much important with respect to the examination has been given. Then however, further as we move on, we can see onto the editorial section. The first editorial, as a regional leader not a victim of circumstance. So basically how India should respond into the neighborhood, such kind of thing has been provided. Then why the electoral reform bill is a problem. Now guys, electoral reform bill which has recently been just passed, so into that particular capacity the criticism has been given. We'll see this particular entire article. Then warning bells. So basically guys, this particular article provides that now as the Omicron cases are increasing, we need to understand this particular exigencies and we need to provide some kind of a preemptive steps needed to be taken up. Then guys, troubled waters. Now this particular this article talks about the Sri Lankan fishermen, okay, and their release. Then further moving on, looking beyond the Forest Rights Act. So basically this article discusses that how the this particular act talks that how basically the for tribal people, fine, though the FRA has granted them the rights, 15 years have been there, but still the justice onto the ground has not been delivered. So such things have been there, we'll discuss it. Then a marketplace of hurt. Now guys, basically this article, it is providing that how onto the behest of the political parties, the political people, the police is acting and basically police is acting onto their behest and the freedom of speech and expression is not being guarded. Fine, the basically sentiments which are often getting hurt, those kind of things are being protected. So the police is not upholding their constitutional role. Fine, however the article is very much generalistic, too much substance into this article is not there. Then A for Assam, N for Northeast. So basically the political leaders and their political aspirations have been mentioned here. You don't need to go too much into this particular detail. Now House performed much below its potential, says Venkaya. Though this particular winter session the performance has been good, but still there are certain aspects. We'll see this particular thing. Change to marriage age will contradict other laws. So guys, how this particular proposal to increase the age from 18 to 21 years will be violating many other laws. We'll see this particular article. Then further moving on guys, the political issues etc are not at all important for your examination. Then guys, after that into the same way direction, the such kind of thing has been given. Then after that guys, the China has endorsed the Hong Kong's election. Now into these elections basically they have been also called as the Patriot polls, so they have been endorsed. Okay, now however the Hong Kong did not basically had slammed this particular election, and according to them this was an undemocratic exercise that has happened and which has actually defied the spirit of the Hong Kong. Then Chinese city of 13 million locked down. So basically the China, it is following the zero COVID strategy, and into this particular zero COVID strategy, the basically the Xi'an, it has been locked down. Fine, because 140 cases into the last 10 days have come. You don't need to go too much into this particular detail. Then onto the business page, the SEBI curbs on future trade in farm goods threaten the food supply chain. So we'll see this particular article and what will be the implication onto the food security. That particular thing will also be seen. So that is all about this particular thing. And now guys, let's take these articles one by one. Now moreover, into the Indian Express explained section, basically guys, the marriageable age which is being increased to 21 years, that article has been mentioned. However, into the last few days repeatedly, that particular issue we have discussed already. So that is about it. Now guys, moving into the discussion. So first of all, taking up the GS quote for today. So we'll be taking the quote from the Albert Camus. He says, democracy is not the law of majority, but the protection of the minority. Democracy never stands for the, basically we say that in democracy the numbers matters, but number is not the only thing, because if the numbers will only be the thing, then it will become the law of majority. However, democracy never is the law of majority. Democracy talks about the protection, preservation of the rights, justice, and therefore the true spirit of democracy is the protection of minority. You can use this particular quote into the answers related to the GS paper number 2. Now taking up the first article, so basically this article talks about the winter session that has been concluded. Now guys, we need to see this particular article into the aspect of the parliament and related issues. Fine, you need not to go too much into the detail of this particular session, but the trend of the parliamentary issues will become important here, and into that capacity in GS paper number 2, the attachments that we'll see here, you can use it. Now first of all guys, the winter session has been concluded, and into this particular session, if we talk about the productivity of the house, then the productivity of the Lok Sabha was around 82%, but at the same time the productivity of the Rajya Sabha was 48%. Now see, the parliament, it happens to be the most important institution of democracy, where through the discussions, deliberation and debates the laws are passed, and these laws are oriented towards the welfare of the people. However, it is a very sad state of affairs that many a time the productive time of the Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha, which could have been used for more meaningful and constructive debates and deliberations, such kind of time is wasted into the disruptions. And because of that particular thing, very rarely our parliament, it works on to the 100% productivity. Budget session is one where the productivity is usually very much high. Now guys, before this particular thing, when we talk about the monsoon session of 2021, it was very much notorious in terms of low productivity that was there. Just here guys, we can see that the productivity into the Lok Sabha, it was 21%, and the productivity into the Rajya Sabha was just 29%. Now compare this productivity with the winter session. So guys, into the winter session, Lok Sabha as compared to 21% performed at 82% productivity. So obviously much improvement has come, and the same way into the Rajya Sabha, last monsoon 29%, and now it has increased to 48%. Now guys, if we talk about the trends in terms of the productivity of the house, we can get the data from the PRS legislative research, and according to that, since 1999, actually the worst productivity has been into the parliament in the 2010 winter session. During this particular time, the productivity of Rajya Sabha was just 2%. Fine. During this particular time, the productivity of the Rajya Sabha was just 2%, and the basically Lok Sabha, its productivity was just 6%. Fine. However, now basically as this particular session has been there, we can find that in total the 13 bills, fine. 12 in the Lok Sabha and 1 in the Rajya Sabha were introduced. 11 bills were passed by both of the houses, and many of the bills, they have been referred. Now which bills got passed briefly, that also we'll see. Now 6 bills have actually been passed to the parliamentary committees for the closer scrutiny, and into this particular direction already we have seen yesterday that the prohibition of child marriage amendment bill has also been passed to a select committee, and this particular committee will be providing their report that whether the marriageable age for the girls need to be increased from 18 to 21 years or not. Earlier the Jaya Jetli committee had provided the recommendations that yes, it should be increased, but now we see that the house is actually divided. Some people say that no, the marriageable age should not be increased, whereas some people say that it should be increased. Is it clear? So such a kind of a thing is there, that the house is divided. Okay. Then further moving on guys, this is the brief summary of the bills that got passed. You don't need to see all the bills that have been passed. Fine, just the important ones we can see here. So basically the Farm Laws Bill Repeal 2021, the farm laws were rolled back. Fine. Dam Safety Bill of 2021 has been there, which talks about the initiatives taken to improve the structural integrity of the dam. ART bill, surrogacy bill. Fine, we have seen these ART surrogacy bills. National Institution of Pharmaceutical Education and Research bill. See, guys, many of the bills, they are having many kind of a technical matters and such kind of a things. You don't need to go too much into this. High Court and the Supreme Court judges' salaries and condition bills. It is talking about the pension related aspect. Fine. Then these are the other bills that have been passed. Okay, election law amendment bill. Onto this bill, we have also have the article today. So this is, guys, all about this particular session, and the next session will be the budget session. Until then, the house has been adjourned, sine die. You might have read about it in your polity as well. Moving now into the next article. Now this particular article, it has been taken from the page number 2, and it is talking about the recent Delhi High Court direction that has been given in order to streamline the juvenile justice delivery. This article will be important under GS paper number 1 as well as GS paper number 2. Within the GS paper number 2, vulnerable social justice, and within the social justice, vulnerable sections of Indian society, the children and the related issues, this particular article will be important. Now, guys, when we talk about the children, there is one particular issue of the children, that is the juvenile delinquency. Now the juvenile delinquency, it pertains to the children who had committed the petty crimes, and as these children have done petty crimes, basically these children done some crimes, they are the delinquents. So the juvenile delinquency deals with the justice of the giving them justice, the procedural aspects of such children who have involved in crime. Now basically, as the child, as per the Juvenile Justice Act in 2015, which got passed, and recently it got amended also in 2021. So as per Juvenile Justice Act, it has been provided that the children, they should be reformed and they should not be punished. Children should be reformed and should not be punished. Into this particular capacity, whenever a juvenile commits a crime, he is not sent to a regular jail, rather he is sent to a reformative facility. Okay, now rehabilitation facility he is sent. But guys, if we see what is actually onto the ground that is happening, basically there are many of the systemic flaws into our system, and actually the delinquent children, they are ending into the adult jail rather than being sent into the rehabilitation homes, reformatory homes. They are going into the jail. Into this particular capacity, guys, the Delhi High Court has asked from the Delhi government that you need to tell us that how many number of children and juveniles were there who were transferred from adult jail to the child care institution into the last 5 years, and the details of their crime. So why they are being transferred from adult jail to the child child care institution? It is simply because I told you that the focus is to be on reform, but still they are landing. Now into this particular capacity, guys, it has been provided that basically what happens, see, there will be a court order. Fine, there will be a court order, there will be a juvenile justice board, there are the child welfare committees who have actually been given a task that they need to look onto the welfare of the children. Fine. Now basically, guys, it has been said that whenever an order has been found, whenever an order has been passed where it has been found that a child has been in conflict in law, clear, let's say Mr. He is a child, he had done a crime. Now that particular person will be tried, and let's say it is found that he has been in conflict with the law, then an individual care plan is to be drawn up. Individual care plan is to be drawn up. Fine. Okay, and basically after that it has been provided that then basically the rehabilitation placement officer needs to draw up a rehabilitation card. Now what is this rehabilitation card and individual care plan? I told you, you will reforming them. So what will be the strategy into which the person or the child will be reformed? What will be the socialization that will be given to him? What will be the education that will be given to him? So for that particular thing, rehabilitation placement officer ensures such kind of a thing that the child's rehabilitation is being done. Rehabilitation card carries the productive activities that have been given to a child. Okay, and then there is an individual care plan also, which is to be drawn for the children. It is a mandatory thing, and with a much focus, with much attention, these things should be done. This Delhi High Court has provided a direction. Moreover, it has also been provided that the Juvenile Justice Board, they should also be ensuring the post-release plan. Now the post-release plan means that where the child after getting released will be going, what type of activity he will be doing, So his post-release plan is also to be prepared, and this post-release plan is to be drawn up 2 months before a child is leaving the child care institution. So basically guys, in order to give them a comprehensive focus, such kind of a post-release plan is also being talked about. Now these particular kind of things you can directly mention into the issues related to the juvenile delinquency within the children. So that is all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now this particular article guys, it talks about that we have seen this particular thing, that what is happening. Basically government is passing the bill in order to increase the marriageable age of girls from 18 years to 21 years. Now it has been said that by this particular law, what will happen, many of the other laws that have been there, they will also get violated. Fine. So what is being done? Basically the marriageable age is being increased from 18 to 21 years. Many of the violations will happen. Basically the Majority Act of 1875, it provides that the age of majority is 18 years. Now what is the age of majority? Age of majority is one where you can enter into the legal agreements, you can in your own capacity you can sign the deals, fine, and basically such kind of a thing is there. So Majority Act provides that a child becomes a major at the age of 18 years. So increasing the age will contradict this particular age law. Then the 16th Constitutional Amendment Act fixes the minimum voting age at 18. Okay, so below the 18 you are child. Minimum age is 18, which has been fixed. Now increasing the age to 21 year will be violation. How it will be a violation? You need to understand this particular thing. If you are providing the marriageable age at 21 for the girls, it is being provided at below the 21 years the girls are children. And however the other acts, they define a children up till the age of 18 only. The Majority Act up to 18 years. The 61st Constitutional Amendment, up to 18 years you are a child. Fine. Then POCSO and the Juvenile Justice Act defines a child who is someone under the age of 18 years. In the same way, Right to Education also defines that a child is someone who is between the age of 6 to 14 years. So here are differences there. 6 to 14 years is just being defined as a child. No, moreover, the Child Labor Act 2016 also provides that the child is someone who is till the age of 14 years. He is a child, and from 14 to 18 years he will be called as an adolescent, and after the 18 he will become adult. So into this particular capacity, the age to achieve the adulthood is around 18 years, and unnecessarily the changes are being made to the marriage law, and by this particular thing what will happen, basically you are increasing the age. So such kind of a violations will be there. However guys, it is not completely a problematic thing. Why? Because the age of the boys is already 21 years. So, okay, so entirely a big problem will not be there. But guys, obviously these are the other laws where the age of a children has been defined. This particular all these bills or all these particular laws you can also mention in some other issues also with respect to the child marriage. Basically when we talk about actually guys the children, identification that who is a children is also very big problem. All these laws are providing a very clear definition of a child. So please do use it. That is all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. As a regional leader, not a victim of circumstance. So basically this particular article guys, first of all, will be important for our GS paper number 2, issues related to the international relation, extended neighborhood. Fine. Now what has happened, a few days back, Indian External Affairs Minister, he had addressed the 5th Indian Ocean Conference. It was held into the Abu Dhabi, and he had provided that now what is happening, actually there are the two trend lines that are there into the Indian Ocean region. He said that in Indian Ocean region a rebalancing is going on. Some new players are becoming important, some players are losing their significance. So kind of a trend line is emerging into the Indian Ocean region. According to the Minister of External Affairs, he said that what is happening, the Indian Ocean countries, the countries who are surrounding the Indian Ocean, their importance is increasing. Why their importance is increasing? It is because of the two factors. Number one, a great caution is being taken now by the USA in terms of the power projection. So in US is actually containing. However, China has become basically there is an aggressive rise of China, and China had deliberately created the tensions into the Indian Ocean region. So as that rise of China is there, and as the caution of the USA is there, what had happened in between, a vacuum has been developed and the Indian Ocean countries, they have become more relevant. Moreover, according to the Minister of External Affairs address, it has been provided that right now if we see around the Indian Ocean countries, there is also stress that has also been built up, a crisis that has also come. It is because that the American are pulling out of the Afghanistan. Already they have pulled out. Moreover, the novel coronavirus pandemic has also basically brought out a large number of structural shifts into this particular region. Now basically article discusses that how Indian leadership has been challenged, how India has actually not been able to be a very good performer into the Indian Ocean region. So basically with respect to the Afghanistan, there are certain issues that have been there. With respect to Afghanistan, it has been provided that number one, what has happened, the number one what has happened is that New Delhi had failed to actually, number one, anticipate that what will be the future of Afghanistan. Secondly, India at present also had failed to provide a proper response to the Afghan problem. And thirdly, India had also failed to understand that what will be the future implication of Afghanistan. So our strategy on Afghanistan has been very tardy, our strategy on Afghanistan has been very much ineffective. Number one, how such kind of thing has happened. Now guys, it has been provided that number one, India's failure was this, that India was not able to recognize that where the USA policy was leading. So what happened? USA signed the Doha agreement in 2020 with the Taliban, and then the Taliban was recognized as a basically equivalent interlocutor onto that, on par with the Afghan government. Taliban was given a position into the 2020 Doha deal. At that point of a time, India was not able to envisage that there will be the complete pullout of the USA, and the preemptive steps were not taken by India at that particular point of time. India will fail to envisage this particular thing. Second, it was provided that actually today there are also large number of challenges that are persisting into the New Delhi. Basically today India had failed to secure its friends into the Afghanistan. Fine, we are not allowing the Afghans who need the shelter on humanitarian grounds, we are not providing them the visa. Students, artists, women activists, Afghan National Defense and Security Force members, particularly guys, there are the such Afghan National Security Forces people who were trained in India, and just because they were trained in India, they are being targeted. So we have not given the hand to these people. Moreover, it is provided that guys, India had also failed to reach to the many minorities into the Afghanistan also. Basically not only the basically we have been focused only into the Hindus and the Sikhs, but apart from that, other minorities such as the Hazaras, Tajik, Ahmadis, Shias, fine, we have not given any response to these people. Thirdly, what has happened? Basically guys, now India is not also working for the basically how the future negotiations will be there. India is not securing the future also. Why? Because guys, India had failed to negotiate with many of the key opposition parties who might be instrumental for Indian interest into the future. For example, there is a resistance front which is the opposition into the Afghanistan. India had not been able to reach to the such opposition, and support has not been provided. This strategy is actually very much different from the 1990s. So basically you know this thing, that in 1990 also the Taliban captured the power in Afghanistan. At that point of a time, we were maintaining the dialogue with the Northern Alliance. Now the Northern Alliance was a opposition to Taliban at that point of a time, and by this particular thing we actually had a counterbalance. Second thing that was there, basically at that point of a time, we also provided the refuge to a large number of people. Clear? And because we had maintained the good relations with the Afghanistan at that point of a time, in 2001 when the Taliban was overthrown, we were actually able to maintain the friendship with Afghanistan for next 20 years, that is 2001 to 2021. But now we are not focusing on to such kind of things. Then the next issue that comes here into this particular direction, that the China factor also has not been properly accounted into the India. Number one, China's aggression has been unprecedented into the present times. But what happened? The Prime Minister made a statement that there is not even an inch of land that has been taken by China. Now this particular thing guys is opposite to what actually we see onto the ground. There are large number of satellite images, large number of reports that have come that basically the LAC, they had captured a large number of land. Moreover, they have actually worked on to establishing the villages and the settlements within the territory of India. Fine, and by this particular thing, we can find that actually China is very aggressively entering into the Indian territories. We have not been able to respond into this particular line. Then the second issue that has come into this particular direction, guys, is that basically New Delhi. Okay. Yes, basically what has happened, the New Delhi, it has failed on many of the other aspects also. But guys, if in present we need to give a good response to the China, we need to focus on some of the factors. Number one factor, what we need to do, we need not to create a space into the countries which India can leverage against the China, particularly our neighbors. According to the article, it has been provided that see, the coronavirus pandemic broke down. Under this particular under the this particular pandemic, we actually promised to the neighboring countries that will provide them the vaccines, will provide them the medical aid. But what happened? India had failed to keep its promise to provide the vaccine to the neighboring countries. Moreover, guys, the countries who had paid for the vaccine, such as the Bangladesh, Nepal, we were not able to provide the vaccine to them. Moreover, inadequate, less vaccines were provided to the Bhutan's, Maldives, etc. Now, as we are not giving the vaccine to our neighbors, what has happened? There a scar will develop. Okay, this particular advantage will be taken by China. China will provide the vaccine to them, and by this particular thing, in our neighborhood countries also, the strategic position will be taken by the China. So we need to make sure that such kind of a vacuum we are not developing. Second thing that has been here is that India cannot cast itself as a counter to China by invoking its democratic system. Always, guys, the democratic system has been pitted against the China. We say that we are a democracy, China is not a democracy. But if we see within our own democracy, basically the pluralism is getting compromised. The representative government is actually, we cannot say that the government is completely representative of all the interest. Inclusive power is not there. Fine, citizen, media, civil society, everybody is into the shambles. So the democratic credentials of India right now is itself under some kind of a problem. Then the next thing that comes here is that, guys, basically what had happened, according to many of the think tanks, it has been provided that India has been a preferred strategic partner in most of the neighboring countries and many other things also. But basically the collaborations of India with the USA and Japan are not as popular, especially as they are seen as anti-China rival platforms. So basically now the India's friends, they are not being seen that okay, India is making very good and meaningful choices. Every India's choice, even the choice of choosing the foreign partners, is being seen that we are just fixated on building the anti-China camps. So such kind of thing also needs to be looked on. Is it clear? So basically, guys, the next thing that has been provided that okay, New Delhi must block all the external attempts to recast India as a middle power. Okay, however, we need to take our own independent stand, and into this particular capacity we need to chart out our own foreign policy, our own responses, and the regional challenges such as the challenge in Afghanistan and China is needed to be handled into an effective manner. So that is all about this particular article. Now we'll move to the next article. Now, looking beyond the Forest Rights Act. So basically, guys, this article is talking about the critical evaluation of the Forest Right Act 2006. Now, the 15 years of the Forest Right Act has been there. And actually, the Forest Right Act has been called as one of the most important legislation in guarding the tribal rights in India, the forest dwellers' rights in India. And therefore, it happens to be a very important piece of article for our GS paper number 2, the social justice initiatives. First of all, I told you that the Forest Right Act, it has been in existence since 15 years, because 2006 it got passed. Now, according to the Ministry of Tribal Affairs recent data, it received the 42,50,602 claims, and out of that 46% of the applicants, their claims were settled. And the Ministry of Tribal Affairs says that it is a very big success. Basically, guys, little bit background now I would like to tell you. Forest Right Act 2006. Now, under this particular act, the tribal people and the forest dweller people, they have been given right over the land. Maximum of 4 hectares of land could be given to the tribal people, to the forest dweller people. Into this particular capacity, it has also been provided that not only the ownership onto the land will be given, but guys, many of the community rights will also be given with respect to this particular thing, that basically they can provide the non-forest produce, and basically many of such kind of herbs, etc., they can collect from the forest. So such kinds of rights have been given to the tribal people. Now there have been large number of challenges, issues into the implementation of this particular act. Challenge number 1, basically it was provided that as the land was to be given to the tribal people under this particular act, for that particular thing there needs to be, actually for that particular thing there was to be constituted a forest rights committee. Now this forest right committee should have been comprising, having the members within the village, Okay, and basically this forest right committee should have been created by conducting a gram sabha with the 2/3 members present into that. So the gram sabha would have chosen this forest right committee, and this forest right committee would have taken the matters that which person is to be given the ownership right and which person should not be given. But rather than this particular process, what has happened, these committees have been constituted by the panchayat secretaries onto their own initiative by the onto the basis of the orders that have been received by the district magistrate. So basically the committees which should be created into a particular manner by the prerogative of gram sabha, such thing has not happened. Moreover, it has also been provided that the women, they contribute very immensely into the tribal economy, but their contribution has not been there. Under this particular act, basically the titles have not been given largely to the women member, they have been given mainly to the male member. So the gender parity aspect is also very much missing here. Then the next thing that comes here is that basically when the land rights were to be given to the people under the Forest Rights Act, the administration many a time has insisted onto the satellite image and all such kind of evidences, and now you know the satellite imagery and such kind of a high-tech evidences cannot be arranged by the tribal people. So because of that particular thing, large number of applications have been rejected. Is it clear? After that, guys, the next problem that comes here is that basically the people who are given the land rights under the Forest Right Act and many other kind of rights, they are not provided any another kind of a social justice benefits, welfare schemes, etc. Under that, they are not provided the benefit. Now into this particular capacity, the Ministry of Tribal Affairs had provided that even the people who got the land within the Forest Right Act, they are also be treated on par with the other tribal people. You cannot discriminate them. All the welfare schemes, welfare mechanisms are to be provided to them. That particular thing has been provided. Now after that, there is also one more problem, that this particular act is not properly implemented. It is because of the poor awareness into the tribal people. Now some of the NGOs are there, like in Dang district of Gujarat, which had actually taken up the hand holding of beneficiaries at every step. So these are good NGOs, but if the NGOs effort are not there, basically the tribal people are not able to know their rights and they are not able to exercise their rights. That is the issue that comes. Now NGOs involvement has also been missing into the interior states such as the Chhattisgarh. NGOs actually promote the grassroots democracy and they could have educated the people with respect to their rights, but their involvement has also been very much limited. Moreover, guys, the Forest Right Act has actually also worked into the areas which are near to the urban areas. Fine, because there the farmers, they need the tribals, they tend to be little bit more mainstreamed. Then there could be the way forward. Now guys, this particular way forward has not been given only in context of the Forest Right Act, but the general way forward, that how the condition of tribals in general can be improved. Now into this capacity, NGO representatives, fine, into these tribal areas, they need to work for the livelihood of the local farmers. Is it clear? Basically they can be provided with some kind of an indirect employment avenues. Fine, there is a popular recommendation that the medical and ecotourism should be explored onto the lines of the Kerala model. Now the medical tourism, basically the medical and ecotourism. So in a responsible manner, the tourism is to be carried into the tribal belts. Moreover, the medical tourism also, they have large number of herbs, they have access to large number of traditional wisdom, and for the medical purpose, that particular wisdom could be leveraged. So the medical tourism within these areas can happen. Then after that, at the same time, the civil society groups, find they need to give the skill-based education to the tribal people so that the assured jobs into the different sector these people can get. Then after that, it has been provided that, see, the FRA is not the panacea that all the problems will be solved by the Forest Right Act. However, at the same time, there are other acts also that should be implemented. For example, the PISA, Panchayat's Extension to Scheduled Areas Act 1996, this should be implemented. So many other tribal acts are also which should also be maintained, implemented, and at the same time the FRA, the spirit as well as the letter should be kept intact. So that is all about this particular article. 15 years have happened. So guys, this particular topic becomes important for you guys. Please focus on this. Now that is all about it, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, with why the electoral reform bill is a problem. So this article will be important for our GS paper number 2, election and related issues. However, into the past 3 days earlier also we have discussed this particular article, so entirely not a kind of a very new thing. Now, this article says that why the electoral reform bill is a problem. So, we have seen that the government has rushed to pass the Elections Law Amendment Bill 2021. Fine, under this, for this particular thing, the Representation of People Act 1950 is being changed. Now, basically, some other provisions are also there. What is the genesis or what is the core crux of this particular bill? The crux of this particular bill is that it provides that the electoral registration officer may require a person to furnish the Aadhaar card if he wants to enroll himself into the electoral roll for the constituency. Now, everyone who is above the 18 years of age, by the virtue of 16 Constitutional Amendment Act, he is entitled to vote. Earlier, before the 61 Constitutional Amendment Act, the age for voting was 21 years. Now, above 18 years, you can vote. But for that, you need to have your name into the electoral roll of your constituency also. Now, when the electoral roll is being prepared, and if you want to put your name into that, the registration officer can ask the Aadhaar card. Earlier, the Aadhaar card was not there. Now, this particular thing has come. Moreover, guys, it has also been provided that the people who have earlier been enrolled into the electoral roll, their name is already there. They can also be asked for the Aadhaar by the officer. Moreover, at this point of a time, guys, it has also been provided that the registered voters, they have option of providing their Aadhaar card. However, at the same time, you can also say that, okay, I'll not give my Aadhaar card, and it has been said that other document for identification can also be given. And guys, at the same time, such a provision has been made that you can deny it. The question, however, that comes here is that basically the criticisms are there. On the face of it, it will look good. The government has given the logic that by this particular thing, the electoral rolls will be cleaned. There are many people who got the multiple votes in different constituencies. Fine, so that particular thing will be cleaned. And on the face of it, it looks that yes, by connecting the Aadhaar and the electoral roll, such kind of thing system will be cleaned. But there are certain concerns. Number one concern that has come here is that if such kind of thing, providing Aadhaar is voluntary as provided into this particular act, then why you need to pass a amendment for this particular thing? People anyhow could have provided it voluntary. You just could have asked them that, okay, show us Aadhaar card. Why you have converted it into a law if it is entirely a voluntary scheme? That is the thing. Then, guys, the number one, it has been provided that it has not provided that the principles, guiding principles, when an Aadhaar number may be required. Okay, when Aadhaar number can be required as a mandatory cause, and when it just be asked as a kind of a choice. It has not been very clearly provided into the bill. Second thing that comes here is that basically the central government has the final say in prescribing the sufficient cause. Sufficient cause means, let's say I don't want to show my Aadhaar card, I need to give a reason for that thing. So what is this sufficient cause? The government will prescribe this particular thing, and later words, very much restrictive definition of the sufficient cause can be there, and at the end of the day, a person has to, let's say, mandatorily show the Aadhaar card. Such kind of provisions could be made by the government. And into this particular capacity, every person who is not able to have the Aadhaar card, or who, if let's say he doesn't want to share, he will not be able to cast his vote. Then, guys, after that, next thing that has come here is that basically the law doesn't mention that what about the individuals who are opposed of linking their Aadhaar card with the electoral database. Let's say I am having the Aadhaar card, but I don't want to link it with the database. What about me? Fine, such kind of things has not been talked about. Moreover, it has been provided that basically ensuring registration of the electoral roll to achieve the universal adult franchise. Basically, now you need to have basically the burden of proof is on you. If you are not able to furnish the Aadhaar card, you need to give the valid reason. Okay, so the burden of proof has been pushed on you. Moreover, in 2015, there has also been one report where it has been highlighted that lakhs of voters in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana were excluded in voting because the government came out with the direction that Aadhaar card and voter ID should be linked. But guys, not in a very clean manner. Government carried the survey for linking this particular thing, nor even the representatives visited the people's house. Just they struck off that particular name, and the right to vote was violated. Then the next issue that comes here is, guys, that the political parties can go for the profiling of the people also. The political parties, when the Aadhaar and the electoral roll is connected, the political party can know that which particular person is getting the advantage of the welfare scheme, which person is not getting the advantage of the welfare schemes. And into this particular thing, they can manipulate the people by knowing their status, that to what an extent they are relying on to the welfare schemes. After that, the next thing that comes here is that basically the manner in which the bill has been passed, that is also criticized. Now, the same day it got passed into the Lok Sabha, fine, and in few hours in the next day it got passed into the Rajya Sabha. The division was not allowed. Now what is this meaning of this division? Division means, see, that when the working is there into the parliament, the working goes into this particular manner, that every motion will be passed by vote. Now the vote first will be the voice vote, where the people will say yes and no, in favor or against the vote. Fine, against the motion also. Now if a person disputes this particular voice vote, he can challenge it and can ask that the votes should be recorded. That will be called as a division. But into this particular, and whenever, let's say, even one person is asking for the division has to be given. But into this particular manner, the division was asked, but it was denied, it was not given. Moreover, the High Court of Calcutta as well as Allahabad High Court had refused to rely onto the authenticity of the Aadhaar data. According to them, the Aadhaar data might be fudged, might be compromised. So into that capacity, relying on to the Aadhaar doesn't make much of a sense. Moreover, guys, it has been provided that government Supreme Court has repeatedly provided that the Aadhaar card, fine, can only be given for such kind of basically is once again basically beyond the welfare purpose. The Aadhaar card is now being used. Is it clear or not? So according to the government, making the Aadhaar as a condition for basic services cannot be the case. Now what is the basically a basic right of the right to election is being made conditional onto the Aadhaar. It goes against the Supreme Court judgment. So these are, guys, the entire issues that have come into this particular article. So that is all, and now we'll move to the next article. Okay, this article taken from the Hindu newspaper business page, and it will be important for our GS paper number 3. SEBI curb on futures trade in farm goods threaten food supply chain. Now before this particular article, guys, I would like to tell you a little bit of a background first. So what has happened? See, you might have known about the futures. The futures. Now what are the futures? Futures are actually the financial contracts that obligates the contract's buyer to purchase an asset at a pre-agreed price on a specific future date. So let's say that this is Mr. A and this is Mr. B. Now the Mr. B is a farmer. Mr. B is a farmer. He is growing, let's say, the soya bean. Mr. A will sign a futures agreement with Mr. B, and under this futures agreement, Mr. A will say that, okay, I will buy your entire soya bean, let's say, at 100 rupees a kg at that particular date. After 6 months, after 8 months, I will buy your soya bean at 100 rupees kg. This is a futures contract. Now under this futures contract, both the parties, they get a benefit. This particular person A, who has said that I will buy it, he will get a assurity that I will get a raw material on that particular date. Into the same way, Mr. B also has a kind of a market. So by this particular way, the future contracts are designed. Now what has happened? The SEBI recently banned the 7 futures. Okay, now it has banned the futures agreement for the chana, wheat, paddy, soya bean and its derivatives, mustard seed and its derivative, crude palm oil, moong. For 1 year, the futures have been banned. Why the futures have been banned? It is because to cool off the food inflation. If we see, guys, the retail inflation, it has rose to 3-month high, 4.91% into the November, fine, from 4.48% into the previous months. So the food inflation is rising very high. Now, guys, according to the government, the logic basic which goes behind this is like that when the futures agreement is being passed, many a times the future agreements are being signed at an inflated cost, and because of that inflated cost, what happens? The prices of such kind of crops have increased. So the future trade has been banned for 1 particular year. Now this particular thing, it has been provided that this particular ban might fuel the volatility into the domestic market. Basically, let's say I am a food processor. I'm running a food processing industry. If I have a contract agreement with a farmer, I know that, okay, after 6 months I will get the wheat at this particular price, I will get the rice at an X price. Now as the future contract is not there, I don't know what will be the market conditions at that point of a time. Into this particular capacity, basically what will happen, the raw material procurement, etc., will be delayed. Fine, you basically the long-term purchase and the sales impacts might be there onto the corporates involving into the food related products. So basically, guys, it even threatened the food supply chain. It threatens. Why? Because I told you I have an agreement with the farmer to procure the potato, but today if I cannot take, the supply chain will be completely disrupted. So this is, guys, the entire thing that has happened. I hope you understood it, and now we'll move to the next article. India gives 1 million doses to the Myanmar. So basically, guys, India has taken again their vaccine Maitri. Now, what is this vaccine metri? Vaccine metri can also be called as the vaccine diplomacy. We, India, are the biggest pharmacy to the world, and being India the pharmacy to the world can provide the low cost vaccines to the many countries and neighbors. They rely on us. India started their vaccine metri in 2021 when to more than 70 countries the vaccine was supplied. However, the second wave of COVID-19 pandemic suspended the India's vaccine metri for a few months, but now again India is taking forward the vaccine metri, and under this vaccine metri, as the foreign secretary of India has visited the Myanmar, he had given 1 million doses to the Myanmar. Now Myanmar right now is facing a crisis because of the military of the Myanmar that has taken over the power, but now as part of a humanitarian gesture, we have provided the vaccines as a part of our vaccine metri. Now guys, earlier we have provided the vaccines to the Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal. Okay, fine. Now we are going forward with the Myanmar. So basically this particular kind of things guys actually help India to create a kind of a trust into the nearby countries, and it actually shows a big hurt of India that India is making efforts to reach out the countries. So these particular kind of things are actually very effective in the soft diplomacy of India. So such kind of thing has been done. So that is all guys about this particular article, and with this we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. Guys, I want to notify you that tomorrow I will not be able to make the video. The reason being that I will be traveling. I had a particular schedule in which I will be in travel, so shooting a video will not be possible for tomorrow. However, the important piece of articles I will be sharing on the Telegram channel. For that particular thing, please join our Telegram channel, and many other updates are also shared on our Telegram channel. So I will share it there. So that is all guys about the today. I hope that you have understood it and you will cooperate. So please do like the initiative. Please do subscribe if you are finding it useful. Thank you so much.